Hello everyone. So I'd like to welcome you all to another chapter of the Python beginners tutorial. So now we are on our chapter number 12 where we'll be learning about if, elif and else statements in Python. Okay, so these are conditional statements like you will be able to choose that if this answer is false, what answer to put. Okay, so it makes your programming more knowledgeable and we will learn each and everything to get you started with these conditional statements in Python. So let's not waste time and let's get started. So over here on my screen, as you guys can see that I do have already created a new file, and also over here I do have different comments. Okay, so we will come to that later. But now let me tell you guys what a if statement is. So if statement is basically a special structure in Python. Okay, so this particular special structure basically helps Python to make decisions. Okay, so we will be learning about that, and it totally depends or responds to the data and the values provided to it. Okay, so using if statement, it makes you a lot smarter. It makes you or gives you more decisions like whether you should do this, or if you're not doing this you should do that. Okay, it totally depends on the data and the value you are providing from your end. So this is making your code a lot smarter that to understand the scenario and respond to you accordingly. Okay, so now we will see that using some of the example. Okay, so now let's come over here on top and let's check out this first statement. Okay, so the statement says if I come when I come back from work, if I feel like playing. Okay, so here the condition is if I feel like playing, then I play football. But over here it doesn't say that if I don't feel like playing, what I do. So if I feel like playing, it will basically print that I play football. So this is the condition right over here, and here I hope you guys do have got a basic idea about what a if statement is. Okay, an if statement basically uses the boolean values. Okay, you guys can also use different data types, but I'll be showing you guys using a boolean value itself that you guys can get a better idea about the if statement. And this is one of the important part in Python programming, which you will be using in lot of the cases. So make sure to understand this properly. And if you're not understanding at once, maybe at first it might sound a bit difficult and you might face some issues. But if you practice on a continuous basis, you will get a better idea and a clear understanding about the if statement. Okay, so now this is done. Okay, so over here, if you feel like playing, then you play football. So this statement is done. If it's true, it will print that you play football. So now let's come here to this next paragraph. Okay. So over here, it says that I got a vacation. If I am alone, I go to the beach. Otherwise, I go to the mountain. Okay. So over here, you guys can see this is first the statement that you got a vacation. So this is the first statement. And the second statement or the condition is that if you are alone, you go to the beach. Otherwise, let's say if you are not alone, that means that if you are not alone, here you go to the mountain. Okay, so here it is not written that if you are alone or if you are not alone, just otherwise signifies that you go to the mountain. Okay, as here the condition is that I am alone. So what is just the next opposite of I am alone? That means that you are with someone. That means you are not alone. Okay, so here you do have two conditions. Let's say if you're alone, you go to the mountains. This is the first one. Like if you're alone, it will print that I go to the beach. If you're not alone, it will directly print I go to the mountain. Okay, so here it basically says you about the if statement and the else statement using the otherwise option. Okay, so now this is also clear. Here we have only seen that how a if statement looks like. Here I have shown you how a if and a else statement looks like. And lastly, we will come here and we will see that here we do have three conditions. So okay, So the first thing here, it states that I am with my date. Okay, so this is the main statement that I am with my date. So the first condition is if she likes pasta, we go to the Italian restaurant. So here under the if statement, it says that if she likes pasta, we go to a Italian restaurant. Okay. Otherwise, here it shows about the elif statement. Okay, so over here you guys can have multiple elif statement. Okay, you guys can add more to that. Let's say otherwise, if she likes sushi, we go to a Korean restaurant. Otherwise, we go to an Indian restaurant. So here you guys can see if both of these first two statements are false, then here you guys go directly to the else statement, which says that we go to an Indian restaurant and it will print it accordingly. Okay, so here these were few of the examples. Now let's come here. Let me delete all of this comment and let me start doing this programming right over here. So now let's come here and first to write about the if statement, let me just create up a variable. Okay, so if I just show you guys with an example, it will be better for you to understand. So let's type is, otherwise let's keep it small, otherwise is underscore genius. Okay, so I will just put is underscore genius and let's put equal to sign as we are going to work with boolean value. I am going to put the boolean value. Let's put true statement. Okay, so I will just make this statement as true. And now if I come down right over here, and now let me show that if here you guys can see that I do have added the if statement. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to type is genius variable is true. Okay, so over here I'm telling that if is genius is true. Okay, I don't have to write true because here it already contains that this is a true statement. Okay, so now over here, if I do want to close it, I need to make sure that I put a colon, and after that I will just click on enter. Okay, and whenever you're applying this if statement, you will see that on your left hand side you will have this indentation. Okay, so this is not just to show it or for visibility, but this one is basically for functionality as well. Okay, so over here you will have 4 spaces. Okay, if you guys can see here, I basically do have 4 spaces. Okay, so make sure that when you are writing or working with the if statement, if you don't have indent, it won't your Python will not understand that this is or this particular code is inside the if statement. Okay, so once I have written that if this if statement is true, as it is already over here, what do I want to print? Okay, so I will type the print function. Let's open parenthesis and now let's open double quotation. So I will type that you are a genius. Okay, so if my is genius variable is true, then in that case it will print that you are a genius. Okay, so now if I just run this code here, you guys can see as the is genius statement is true, it is printing that you are a genius. But over here now let's come on top, and if I just make this particular statement as false, okay, if I come here and if I make it false and if I run this here, you guys can see it doesn't show me anything. Okay, so over here it tells me that, well, you didn't provide anything or you didn't provide any kind of else statement right over here. Okay, so it means that now here I need to provide a else statement as well, like if you are not genius or if the if statement is false, what it should print. Okay, so now let's come here and let's put it true only, and let's come down, let's click on enter, and over here now let's type else, and again I will just put out a colon. Now let's click on enter. Now I will type print, and let's open parenthesis. Let's open this double quotation. I will just type not a you are not a genius. Okay, so over here, as you guys can see now, over here I do have two conditions. Okay, so whether my variable is true or false, I do have answer for both of these. So now let's come here and let my variable over here it be a true variable or a true data type. And if I run here, you guys can see it's printing for me that you are a genius. But on top, if I come here and if I change my variable from true to false, then if I run this particular code here, it shows me that you are not a genius. Okay, so this is how it actually works. So basically over here you are just giving information, or you are just giving idea to your code that which answer they should basically choose, totally depending on the data or the input you are providing to them. Okay, so let's click on enter right over here. And now what I'm gonna do is, let's say here, if I do add another variable. Okay, so let's say I will just add a variable. Let's put underscore, and now I will just type boy, is boy statement, and let's put the equal to sign, and now let me just put true, and over here on top as well, let me just put true right over here. Okay, so now as you guys can see here, I do have these two value. Okay, so now what I can do is I need to make sure that I do apply both of these variable right over here. And how to apply is, once I type the if statement, and here you guys can see now I do have the first condition that is genius. And if I want to add another variable to it, and I want both of this to be true, then what I'll do is I will type the AND statement, and I'll just type AND is boy. Let's select this is boy is true. Then I want you to print that you are a genius boy. Okay, so here as you guys can see now over here I am typing if both the statements are true, then I am telling to type you are a genius boy. But from here, let's say if I just put any statement as false, okay, and now if I try to run, it will only print me this. Okay, you are not a genius. But also I want them to try, I want them to print that I am a boy. So how you will be able to do that? Let's say if I come here and if I just make this statement false as well. Okay, so now if I run this one here, it's only showing me that you are not a genius, but you are, but here it should show that you are a boy. Okay, so I need to update the statement which is present over here. And now comes to play the elif statement. Okay, so the elif statement is known as the else if statement. As at first I was showing you guys about three paragraphs. So we do have learned about the if paragraph at first. Okay, we do have learned about the if and the else statement. Okay, we do have shown that in the second paragraph. Now we are going to talk about the third paragraph which we have seen. Okay, so over here, we need to understand we can use this AND statement in between both the variable. Otherwise, you guys can use the OR statement. So what happens in OR statement is, if from both of these variable, any of this variable is true, then this particular statement will get printed. Let's say if I am coming over here and now is boy variable, I am trying this one and I'm putting this one as true, and if I'm printing this one here, it shows that you are a genius boy. But this particular statement is not true. Okay, you know that this particular statement is not well defined. So again, what I can do is I can come here and I will just type and now I will just delete this else statement from here. And now instead what I'm gonna do is I will just type elif and I will just give this one up a space, and now let's type is underscore genius and not, let's open parenthesis, and I'm going to type is boy. Okay, so over here you guys can see I do have this is boy statement, and now let's put out the colon right over here, and now let's click on enter. In that case, what do I want to do is I want to print that, let's open the double quote, you are a genius girl. Okay, so if here the is genius statement is true and the is boy statement is false, here you guys can see now if this is boy statement is false or true, it will just take out the opposite. Okay, so if you want to make any statement as false, okay, you guys need to make sure to put the not statement after that. Okay, so make sure to use this one right over here. And now the same way, what I'm gonna do is let's come here, let's make another elif statement. So I will just click on Control C, let's come here, let's put Control V, and now I am gonna come here and I am going to make this not, let's type not, let's open parenthesis right over here, and over here let's just close parenthesis. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come here and I'm gonna put this statement, and I'm gonna tell that you are not, you are not a, you are a boy but not genius. Okay, because over here you guys can see I have told that is genius statement need to be false and is boy statement need to be true. So here I have typed that you are a boy but not genius. Okay, and lastly over here I need to make sure that I come here and I provide out the else statement. Okay, so let's click on enter and let's type else. And after that, once you have typed else, let's click on enter. And from here, now I want to print, open parenthesis, let's open the double quote. And last, what is left is you, or let's come inside the quotation. So I will type you are not a genius girl. Okay, so I want to type this particular statement right over here. So as you guys can see, once you're right over here, let me just put out the particular column over here as well, and you guys can see now I do have all of these four conditions. Let's say if I come here and if I put both of the statement as true, okay, so supposedly it should print me the first statement. Okay, so let me just kill this particular terminal right over here and let's run this code, and here it shows me the first statement. Okay, so from here now again if I come here and if I just make the is boy variable as false, and after that if I run this code, it will show me that you are a genius girl statement which is present inside the elif statement right over here. And now if I come here and if I say that elif, and here if I just make this is boy statement as true. Let's say if I come here, if I make this is boy statement as true, and if I come here and if I make this statement as false, okay, so if I tell that and if I just print here, it shows me that you are a boy but not genius. Okay, so here you guys can see now this particular statement is false in the third line or in the third elif, and here you guys can see this is boy statement is true. That's why it's printing that you are a boy but not genius. Okay, and after that over here, if I just put that you are not a genius girl. Okay, so over here if I just put both the statement as false, okay, if I come here and if I just make this particular statement as false as well, okay, so both the statement are false, and if I just play this one here, it shows me that you are not a genius girl. Okay, so over here you guys will be able to use the else statement quite like this. So here basically you guys can see in this statement, I do have all the possible answers printed right over here. Okay. As I only do have two variables, you guys can have multiple variables and you guys can have multiple elif statements right over here. Okay. And make sure first you provide the if statement, then you provide the elif statement, and at last you provide the else statement quite like this. Okay, so I hope this part of the if statement was quite clear for you all. Now let's create up a new Python file. Okay, so I will just come here, let's type a new Python file, and I will name this one as if comparisons. Okay, so let's type this one as if comparisons. And over here into this part, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to basically compare using different kind of operators. Okay, so here in this particular part, we do have learned that how you will be able to use the Boolean values. Okay, but over here now in this class, we will basically focus on how you can use operators to compare between numbers. Okay, so we do have seen it over here using string and variables and Boolean values, but here we will use the modern operators. So first thing first, to name that, we will just come here and we'll create a function. So create a functions, we need to type def, let's give it up a space, and now over here the function, what I want to do is I want to find the maximum number. Okay, so let's type here maxi underscore num. Okay, so I will just type maxi underscore num, and over here I will open parenthesis, and now I will put num1, let's put a comma, let's put num2, otherwise let's go with num2, let's give it a comma. Now number 3, let's give it out a comma, and now number 4, and I will just provide a colon at last. Okay, so over here you guys can see in these functions, here the name of the variable is maxi underscore num, and here to maxi underscore num I will be providing 4 numbers. Okay, and out of these 4 numbers they have to find that which one is the maximum number. Okay, so now after that let's click on enter, and what I'm gonna do is now I am going to put out the if statement. So if I will just put the condition right now is that if my number 1 is more than, okay, so I will just use the greater than and equals to sign to number 2. Okay, and here as you guys can see that if my number 1 is more than or like greater than or equal to, so I'll just come here, let's put these operators here. You guys can see the comparison operator. You guys already have learned about different kind of operators. We did have a part where we have explained about comparing operators as well. And once you have typed this one, let's give it up a space. And now I'm going to type and. And again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to type number one is greater than and equal to number 2, and number 1 is greater than and equal to number 4. Okay, so I'll just put number 4, and here again I do have put number 2 times, and I'll just put number 3. So if these particular statements are true, let's close this down with a colon. I want Python to return me number 1 as the answer. Okay, so over here you guys can see that if number 1 is greater than or equals to number 2, otherwise, if number 1 is greater than or equals to number 3, or number 1 is greater than equals to number 4, then I'm telling it to return me number 1, because you guys can see that all the conditions says that if all of these are smaller than number 1, then number 1 is going to be the maximum number. Okay, so over here now I will just click on enter, and now let's come here and I'm going to put out the elif function. Okay, so over here now let's put the elif function, and in the elif function let's come here and let's put, and for that again let's come here, let's copy this one using Control C. Let's come here, let's give it up a space, and let's put Control V right over here, and now let's replace the number 1 with number 2, and over here I will put number 2, and again right over here I will put number 2 as well. Okay, just at this particular point I will just change, and again over here now I need to make sure that I do add another else statement, but before that let me just type return number 2. Okay, so here as you guys can see, if number 2 is more than all the numbers, as you guys can see I am given the statement that if number 2 is more than number 1, number 3 and number 4, then I'm telling them to return me number 2. Okay, so let's come here, let's copy this elif statement using Control plus, let's click on enter, and now let's Control V, and from here now let's put this number 3, and over here also let's put number 3, and lastly over here at this place let's put number 3 as well, and over here now let's put number 2, and I want it to return the number 3 right over here. So as you guys can see now here again in the elif statement I'm telling to return me number 3 if it's equal to or greater than number 1, number 2 and number 4. Okay, so as this is done, now for the else statement I don't have to tell anything. Okay, so else I will just put out the colon, let's click on enter. Directly I know that if number 1, number 2 and number 3 is not true, in that case I have to return number 4 automatically. Okay, so now let's just print all of this, and from here let me come down, and now let's get out of this function first. So I will just put out the print function, and in print what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come here, let's open parenthesis, and here I will just provide the name of this particular function. Okay, so the name of this particular function is maxi underscore num. Okay, so I will just put maxi underscore num, and over here I need to provide it with 4 numbers. Okay, so let's come here, let's put 6 comma 64 comma 72 comma and 81. Okay, so over here as you guys can see now I do have this particular statement. And once this is done, if I come here and if I try to run this code, here you guys can see now it is returning me 81, as out of this four number, 81 is the maximum number. But if I come here and instead of 81, if I just type 432 and if I run this code here, you guys can see now it's giving me 432. Okay. Otherwise, if I come here instead of 6, let's go with 1098. And if I just run this code now, here you guys can see it is going to show me 1098, which is present in the number one part. Okay. So I hope you guys do have understood about the if statement. So first I do have showed you guys using the booleans, and next thing I do have showed you guys using these comparison operators right over here by putting the value all by yourself. Okay. So I hope this class was clear about the if statement. We do have learned each and everything about the if statement right over here. And also, if you want to put on more elif statements, if you do have more conditions, you guys can add more conditions. And instead of and, sometimes you guys can use the or statement as well, depending on the scenario. Okay. So over here, instead of using numbers, you guys can also use strings. Okay. And if you're using strings, you guys can just come here and let's say if you just type sports, and over here, instead of greater than, you guys can just type uh, double equal to. Okay. So you need to understand why do we sometimes use double equal to and why do you use sometimes the single equal to. So double equals to, it says that to compare. Okay, so to compare between two values, but single equals to is to assign anything. Okay, so here you are assigning that. With single equal to, you are assigning a value to an object, but with double equal to, you are comparing it with something. Okay, let's say if I come here and again if I just type sport right over here, we guys can also do that. Okay, so over here now let's come, and also if I will just put the statement over here, num1 is greater than. Okay, so let's come here, I will just keep the statement as here. So I hope this class was clear and you guys to have understood each and every part of how you will be able to work using the if statement in Python. So I hope to see you all in the next chapter. Till then, take care and goodbye everyone.